Stories are means by which we communicate to our people in Africa. I also know that in other cultures they use stories to say one or two things. Today I want to tell you a story of how a driver in a bank built a house while his manager could not build. And when the manager was looking for a house, he came to that house to discover that the owner was his driver. Now I'll start from the beginning. When I was working in a bank, I had this supervisor that came in to work with us. And from the day he came in, he was eager to collect a loan. But because he needed to be confirmed before he could actually apply for a loan, he waited patiently. And after his confirmation, he applied. He was given the loan, and as soon as he paid the one he collected, he applied for another one. So one day I asked him, "Why are you collecting loans?" He smiled and said he worked in a bank for more than 10 years and he could not have a plot of land or even a house to live in. But he discovered that their junior staffs had lands, some of them had buildings. He now told me the story. The bank that he was working had a problem and they decided to downsize. This, my supervisor, was affected, and the manager he's talking about now was also affected. So when the manager decided to go and look for a smaller apartment because he could not afford to pay for apartment where he was living before, he went to Ikorodu, a place he could get a cheap house. The first day he went was on a working day, so he could not see the landlord. He was asked to come during the weekend, and he came and met the landlord. The person he saw was his former driver. He could not believe his eyes. He asked him, "How did you manage to build a house in Lagos?" And the driver said that he rented a house around that area and discovered that land was cheap. He bought the land and he was doing contribution every month. When it was his turn, he would collect that contribution, buy sand, mold block. When he has molded enough blocks, he started building. Gradually, he was able to build a house. So that was the story that inspired my supervisor to build. And to God be the glory. He has completed building his house when another sir came that took him away from the bank. Now the question is, why was it difficult for a manager to build a house in Lagos while a driver could do it? The difference in salary is 2 words apart. Now let me tell you why. Number one, the kind of house the manager rented was the house that would suit his status as a manager. And that costs money. He spent over ₦1 million plus, not today, so many years ago, to rent a house at Surulere. Of course, the kind of school that his children will attend would be big schools where he will pay big school fees. He will wear very good clothes as a manager and also want to buy for his kids and his children. his wife. Then you have a car. All these things are things that will take money from him. I knew he was living from salary to salary, even though he was well paid. But for the driver, he didn't have any status to protect. Whatever he did it just like an ordinary person. If he wants to buy clothes, he might buy second-hand clothes. His children go to the school of ordinary people, and he didn't have a car, so he has nothing to maintain. So because his expenses were trimmed, he was able to build a house. Because the manager's expenses was high, he could not afford to build a house. I hope this story will encourage us to know how to adjust our finances so as to do things that will help us. Please, if this story has touched you or you have gained from this story, please share this video, comment, like, and follow this page. Bye.